ultimately going to happen? To me, from the outside looking in, it's looking like the owners don't even care about ending this league. They probably been ready to end this league. Now, this sucks for people like Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Angel Reese, and a host of other players because this league is how they got big.
On paper, the league's November 28th proposal looks transformative. A $12 million team salary cap for 2025. A maximum individual salary of $2.5 million. An average salary approaching $1 million. A figure the WNBA has never seen in its history. Compared to the current maximum salary of roughly $240,000, this appears to be a monumental leap forward. And from the league's perspective, that's exactly how it's being framed. Historic, generous, unprecedented. But context is everything. Because while those numbers sound impressive in isolation, the Players' Union believes they're built on flawed assumptions and selective math. That's why 98% of players voted to authorize a potential strike, not because they're blind to progress, but because they don't trust the foundation underneath it. For decades, WNBA players operated under conditions that would be unacceptable in most professional sports leagues. Commercial flights, budget accommodations, short seasons, off-season jobs, overseas contracts just to make ends meet. So when a league suddenly presents $1 million average salary as a solution, many players see it less as generosity and more as a rhetorical tactic. The underlying question isn't, is this more than we've ever made? It's, is this fair relative to what the league is generating now and will generate in the near future? The union argues that the league is pricing players based on historical losses while simultaneously marketing itself using future growth projections. You can't claim poverty when negotiating salaries, then claim exponential growth when selling media rights and expansion franchises. To the players, the offer feels like a ceiling disguised as a breakthrough, a way to lock in cost certainty just as the league is finally positioned to grow. That perception, whether accurate or not, is fueling distrust. This is why the vote was so lopsided. It wasn't emotional. It was strategic. The players aren't rejecting progress. They're rejecting what they see as a controlled narrative that undervalues their leverage at the exact moment it's strongest.
Certainly a possibility. This is something that I've been told has been being considered for a while now, going back to before that latest extension was agreed upon right after Thanksgiving. Look, the players have said time and time again that they feel that these negotiations aren't going the way that they want to. In the latest reported proposal from the league, they did offer a $1 million max salary, which with the revenue sharing system they proposed would go up to 1.2.
Come on, man. Y'all ain't finna take the million. Y'all ain't finna take the million. Y'all ain't never, ever, ever made $1 million. They ain't never, ever, ever made $1 million. Y'all finna sit right here and not take the million.
The players, they still aren't quite satisfied with that. So they're looking at all possibilities of how they can get these conversations, these negotiations.
What you're hearing right now isn't optimism. It's resignation, and that distinction matters. When journalists and analysts who follow the WNBA every single day start openly discussing alternative women's basketball leagues to watch, that's not casual commentary. That's a warning signal. Because behind the highlights, behind the viral clips, and behind the public-facing success stories, the league has been quietly drifting toward a crisis that could derail the entire 2025 season. January 9th was supposed to be the moment of clarity. That was the date widely understood as the soft deadline, the point where fans, sponsors, broadcasters, and players alike expected some indication of whether a deal was close, whether compromise was possible, or whether contingency plans needed to be activated. That date came and went without resolution. No announcement, no joint statement, no optimism, just silence. And silence in labor negotiations is rarely neutral. It usually means both sides are dug in so deeply that even incremental progress feels impossible to communicate without triggering backlash. If things are trending positively, leaks would appear. Reporters would hint at progress. Sources would whisper about momentum. None of that happened. Instead, what's happening behind closed doors is a slow erosion of confidence, not just among fans, but among the people whose livelihoods depend on this league functioning. The concern isn't simply about money. It's about trust. The league and the players' union are no longer debating numbers. They're debating fundamentally different visions of what the WNBA is and what it should become. What makes this moment especially dangerous is timing. For the first time in decades, the league has genuine mainstream attention. Caitlin Clark brought casual viewers into the ecosystem. Angel Reese became a recognizable public figure beyond basketball circles. Ratings surged. Attendance climbed. The WNBA finally felt relevant in conversations where it had historically been ignored. And yet, instead of capitalizing on that momentum, the league now finds itself paralyzed, unable to assure anyone that a season will even take place. That uncertainty bleeds into sponsorship deals, media planning, and fan engagement. The longer this standoff continues, the harder it becomes to maintain belief that the league is stable. This isn't panic yet, but it's no longer calm either. It's the quiet before a potentially catastrophic storm.
CBA is January 9th. The other day, we even heard Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, said that he and Deputy Commissioner Mark Tatum are in a position where they're happy to step in to the negotiating room right now. So everything right now is on the table just from both sides to try and come to an agreement, maybe to avoid a strike, possibly avoid a lockout down the road. Right. But as you just read that statement from the Players Association,
one of the most overlooked details in this entire situation is participation. 93% voter participation. 98% voting yes. In labor history, especially within the WNBA, that level of unity is extraordinary. Players are scattered across the globe in the offseason. Many play overseas. Communication is fragmented. Coordinating that kind of response requires urgency and collective belief. This wasn't symbolic. It was desperate. For the first time ever, the players believed they have real leverage. Caitlin Clark brought mainstream attention. Angel Reese became a cultural figure. Casual fans finally started paying attention. The league broke through, and that's exactly why this moment is so dangerous. If the 2025 season doesn't happen, all that momentum disappears. Casual fans move on. Sponsors pivot. Media interest fades. Players return to endorsements and overseas contracts. The window closes. Both sides know this. And that's what makes the standoff so volatile. This isn't just about a contract anymore. It's about whether the WNBA can survive its first real opportunity for growth without destroying itself from inside. And time is running out.
Percent of players participated, 98% voted yes here is what the PA is saying. And again, what that means is they voted yes to have this option, not voted yes to enact it right now. So I want to bring in Shanae Agumake here into this conversation because, Shanae, I want to walk through the players' strategy here. Nneka, your sister, is the president of the WNBPA. Do the players actually want to strike?
So this basically means that this is not calling for a strike now or in the future, but it does demonstrate two very important things: that the players are united more than ever before. I've mentioned multiple times here on ESPN, I was a part of the last executive committee, and it was hard to get 98 or 93% of participation. They got that. Almost every player in the WNBA participated in that.
The phrase average salary of $1 million keeps being repeated almost like a mantra, as if saying it often enough will magically resolve the dispute. But for many players, that number doesn't feel empowering, it feels dismissive. Because here's the reality no one likes to say out loud. These athletes have spent their entire careers being told to wait. Wait for growth. Wait for respect. Wait for profitability. Wait for the league to catch up. And now, when the league finally begins to benefit from cultural relevance, the players are being told to accept a deal rooted in gratitude rather than equity. Most WNBA players have never earned anything close to $1 million playing basketball in the United States. Many spent years making under six figures flying coach, juggling off-season obligations, and sacrificing physical longevity for a league that promised future rewards. So when ownership presents a seven-figure average salary as a reason negotiations should end immediately, it lands poorly. It feels like a reframing tactic. This is more than you've ever had, therefore it must be fair. But fairness isn't measured against past exploitation. It's measured against current value. The players are no longer comparing themselves to their own history. They're comparing themselves to the revenue they help generate, the audiences they attract, and the visibility they provide to sponsors and media partners. From their perspective, the league's messaging feels paternalistic, as though players should be grateful for an upgrade rather than empowered by a partnership. That tone matters, because negotiations aren't just about numbers, they're about respect. And right now, many players don't feel respected.
88% said yes. We trust our leadership, that if the circumstance means we have to make a decision, we're standing united. That is huge. That's the first thing. The second thing I think people should understand is the reason why you get here is the second point, that they feel like the negotiations have not gone in a way that is meaningful for them to honestly have conversations to move forward on the issues. Forward on issues like revenue share, having a fair share as the league grows, the players go, especially when it comes to salary. Facilities, all these things that they're negotiating, they feel like that they're not making the progress that is good and fair in a negotiation. So now that has allowed them to all stand united and say, hey, we understand that we're at the moment where you have to be able to push forward. And this shows that we are one in making this decision.
I don't totally agree with them being one to make their decisions.
Your last. Everything in these negotiations eventually circles back to one phrase: revenue sharing. The players want a system that mirrors other professional leagues, where athletes receive a defined percentage of overall revenue. The league's response has been consistent. There's no meaningful revenue to share because the WNBA has never been profitable. Technically, that's true. For nearly 3 decades, the league has relied on NBA subsidies to remain operational. Owners absorbed losses with the expectation that long-term viability would eventually materialize. But here's where the argument breaks down. Between 2028 and 2030, Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia each paid $250 million in expansion fees, a combined $750 million. The league is expanding to 18 teams. Attendance is up 48%. Games featuring Caitlin Clark averaged 1.2 million viewers, numbers not seen since the early 2000s. So when a league claims expansion fees don't count as revenue, players understandably ask where that money's going. Because from their perspective, they're being told the league is broke while watching franchises sell for $250 million each. The league argues expansion fees are one-time transactions and shouldn't be used to inflate ongoing salary structures. The players argue that money entering the ecosystem, regardless of classification, reflects the league's market value. This isn't just a financial disagreement. It's a philosophical one.